You know, we tend to think that original thinkers, the real geniuses, are just born different, right? That they're just gifted. But what if that's completely wrong? What if originality isn't some kind of innate talent, but actually a set of habits? Simple, kind of surprising behaviors that have been practiced by everyone from ancient sages to modern innovators. Today, we're going to dive into the real habits that help people think differently. And by the end of this, I promise you'll know exactly how to start unlocking that creativity in your own life.
All right, so here's the game plan for today. First, we're going to look at what keeps us stuck in predictable thinking. Then, we'll break down 4 really powerful habits to help you escape it. And finally, we'll wrap it all up into your very own Originality Toolkit. Let's get into it.
So let's start with the big question. Why are truly original thinkers so rare? I mean, it's not that we lack ideas. The real problem is that most of us are trapped in these predictable loops. We end up taking the same mental highways every single day, never even thinking to take a scenic route. We just get stuck. And that is the core problem we need to break free from. You know, there's actually a really powerful term for this from ancient philosophy, the habit mind. It's that state where you're just replaying the same thoughts, the same fears, the same assumptions over and over again. And before you know it, your mind isn't a space for freedom anymore. It's become a cage. But here's the hopeful part. Those same ancient teachings, they didn't just diagnose the problem. They actually gave us the keys to unlock that cage. So, what's the first key? How do we start unlocking that cage? Well, it's right here. True originality doesn't start with some frantic search for new ideas. It begins with something much quieter, deep observation. It's really about learning to see the world with fresh eyes, to notice all the little details that everyone else just walks right past. Now, what's really fascinating is how this ancient wisdom from Confucius is perfectly backed up by modern neuroscience. It turns out that when you practice deep observation, you activate your brain's associative networks. And that's just a fancy way of saying it's the part of your brain that connects totally unrelated ideas to form something new. I mean, it is literally the birthplace of creative insights. Most people see the world through all these filters of ego and bias, but original thinkers, they learn how to wipe the lens clean and just see what's really there. And look, you can start practicing this today. It's so simple. Just once a day, pause for like 30 seconds and ask yourself this one powerful question. What am I missing here that others aren't seeing? That's it. This simple question forces you into what Einstein called a beginner's mind. It instantly breaks your automatic patterns and opens the door for original ideas to just walk right in. Okay, our second habit, this one is completely counterintuitive in our crazy busy world. It's about intentionally creating pockets of stillness and even boredom. It turns out that creativity doesn't really come from noise and chaos. It emerges from space, what some ancient Taoists called the fertile void. And this really shows you the problem, right? Our modern lives, filled with constant scrolling and endless notifications, are actively destroying the very conditions our brains need to innovate. Your brain has this creative engine, which neuroscientists call the default mode network, and it only really kicks on when you're not focused on a task, during those moments of boredom, or daydreaming, or quiet reflection. Think of it as your brain's background processing power for creativity. If your mind is never empty, that engine never even gets a chance to start. So the crucial thing here is to consciously fight back by creating these little pockets of quiet. You don't need to go on a week-long silent retreat or anything. Just look at these options. Choose one each day. A short walk without your phone, just leaving it behind to actually observe what's around you. Or maybe having one meal without the TV on or your phone right there. These small acts of stillness are more than enough to refuel your brain for some seriously groundbreaking ideas. All right, let's move on to our third habit, and this one is a real game changer. It's about breaking free from that black and white, this or that way of thinking, and learning to embrace paradox. Most people see the world in these simple binaries, but original thinkers, they find truth in the tension between opposites. You can see the difference so clearly here. Most of us operate on the left side. It's either right or it's wrong, good or bad. It's a very rigid, binary world. But the real innovators, they live on the right side. They embrace the power of yin and yang, this idea that opposites don't just conflict with each other, they actually complete each other. When you hold two conflicting ideas in your mind at the same time, it creates this powerful creative tension. And it's right in that tension that breakthroughs are born. And that is exactly what Einstein was getting at with this famous quote. If you want a genuine breakthrough, you can't just think harder. You have to think differently.
You have to be willing to explore the contradictions and the paradoxes that pretty much everyone else avoids. I mean, if you want a perfect modern example, look no further than Steve Jobs. He wasn't just an engineer or an artist. He was both. He was obsessed with Zen simplicity and the most cutting-edge technology. He was deeply spiritual and he was ultra-demanding. It was this fusion of totally contradictory traits that led to the world's most iconic and revolutionary products. And that leads us right into our final habit for today. And honestly, this one's a big one. It's all about reframing your relationship with discomfort. See, original thoughts almost always feel uncomfortable at first because they challenge our assumptions. The secret is learning that this feeling isn't a threat. It's actually a doorway to growth. There's this profound idea from Buddhist philosophy that it changes everything. What you avoid controls you. Think about that. When you avoid an idea or a feeling just because it's uncomfortable, you are letting it control you. You're literally putting a boundary on your own mind. Original thinkers do the exact opposite. They lean into that feeling, knowing it's a compass pointing them towards something new. So how do you actually practice this? It's a super simple two-step process. When you feel that internal resistance to a new idea, don't run from it. First, just acknowledge it, feel it, then ask yourself this critical question. Is this uncomfortable because the idea is actually wrong, or is it just because it's unfamiliar? 9 times out of 10, you'll find that discomfort isn't a warning sign. It's a growth signal. It's the feeling of your mind expanding beyond its old familiar borders. Okay, so let's bring it all together. We've covered 4 really powerful habits, and now we can assemble them into a practical toolkit. Think of this as the operating system for an original thinker's mind. So here it is. And you gotta see, these aren't just 4 separate tricks. They're the interconnected building blocks of a completely transformed mind. It all starts with observing deeply, so you can see what others miss. Then you embrace stillness to let your brain's creative engine do its thing. You find brand new solutions by thinking in contradictions, and you guide yourself toward growth by using discomfort as your compass. The bottom line is this: original thinkers aren't born, they are made. They're made through daily habits that literally reshape how they see the world. These same practices transformed ancient sages into timeless masters and modern creators into icons, and they can absolutely do the same for you. So, the only real question left is, which one of these habits will you start practicing today?
Like and subscribe for timeless wisdom.